When my grandpa bought his piece of land 40 years ago, it was nothing but open fields and oak trees. Over time, a new subdivision sprouted up next door, complete with an HOA, manicured lawns, and people who thought they ran the world. Grandpa's ranch technically sat outside their jurisdiction, but that didn't stop the HOA president, Karen Walters, from acting like he owed her dues and obedience. It started with letters. Neatly typed notices appeared in Grandpa's mailbox demanding association fees and compliance with property standards. Grandpa laughed and tossed them in the wood stove every time. "Ain't nobody telling me how tall my grass should be," he'd say with a grin. But Karen didn't take kindly to being ignored. One afternoon, she marched right up our graveled driveway, clipboard in hand, wearing a sun hat big enough to block out the truth. "Mr. Williams," she began sharply, "you're in violation of multiple HOA regulations. Your barn color, your fencing, everything's non-compliant. You need to sign the membership papers immediately and pay the outstanding dues." Grandpa chuckled, resting his hands on his cane. "Ma'am, this land was mine before your subdivision even existed. I'm not part of your HOA, never will be." Karen's lips tightened. "Then I have no choice but to call the sheriff. You're required to comply." "Go right ahead," Grandpa said, his eyes twinkling. "I'll make him some coffee while we sort this out." 20 minutes later, a sheriff's cruiser pulled up. The deputy stepped out, trying not to laugh as Karen launched into a dramatic speech about community responsibility and non-conforming residents. She waved a stack of papers like they were legal decrees. When she finally stopped, the sheriff turned to Grandpa. "Mr. Williams, you got any paperwork about your property line?" Grandpa nodded, disappearing into the house and returning with a faded folder. Inside were the original deeds, dated before the subdivision even existed. The sheriff took one look, nodded, and turned to Karen. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "Mr. Williams's property is outside your HOA. He's not obligated to join or follow any of your regulations. In fact, if you keep trespassing or harassing him, you could be facing charges." Karen's mouth fell open. "But he's part of the community," she stammered. Grandpa smiled kindly. "I'm part of my community, ma'am, the one that minds its own business." As the sheriff drove away and Karen stormed off in humiliation, Grandpa poured himself a cup of coffee, looked out over his land, and said with a grin, "Some folks just need reminding that freedom don't come with HOA fees."